The Quad Cities chapter of the National Organization for Women continues to advocate for the Equal Rights Amendment and a number of other issues. But the women's movement has changed with different generations. So joining us today on The Current is Leslie DuPree. She's the president of the Quad Cities chapter. How are you?
Good, good. Glad to be here.
Yes. So first I want to ask a little, for people who don't know, what is NOW? What do you guys do as an organization?
NOW is the National Organization for Women. We've been around for 50 years, if you can believe it. We have over 500,000 members in all 50 states, and we spent all the last 50 years advocating for women's rights broadly, reproductive freedom, against domestic violence, for economic justice, and we primarily coalesced around the Equal Rights Amendment in the 70s and 80s, which people a little younger than may not remember, but I do certainly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Equal Rights Amendment, where does that stand today, and what are you guys doing to continue to advocate for that?
It's really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the ERA fell 3 states short of the number needed to make it as an amendment. Now we have the 38 states because 3 states have ratified in the last 5 years. However, it's all tied up in court. There was a deadline on ratification which may or may not have been constitutional. Can states rescind their ratification, which some states have tried to do? So there are a lot of factors going on right now. It's kind of in a legal limbo, but we haven't given up. We have lawmakers who are still advocating for it and pushing for it.
Well, you were saying as an organization, you guys have been around for 50 years now. So during that, how has your guys' membership kind of changed based on the people who are involved and some of the generational differences there?
I think when we started out, there was the one issue in which people were really disappointed when it fizzled, basically, for all this time. And so a lot of younger women didn't hear about us because we weren't as active. And so we've kind of maintained, but I believe now might be a good time for some of them to get acquainted with NOW because things have changed. I think they might have noticed that some things they took for granted have now are gone, basically, for the time being.
Well, expanding on that a little bit, how do you think different generations approach some of the different issues in the women's movement?
It's interesting to think back because at the time the ERA was a controversy, one of the problems was people assumed it would mean that we would have gay rights. Well, and they assumed, oh no, women would be in the military. Well, so I think younger women see some of these things as not part of the political spectrum now, but they still are. I mean, you have a Secretary of Defense nominee who's talking about women not belonging in the military. So I think young women should be looking forward and thinking about what can I do? Rather than stay home and be sad and angry, what can we do?
Well, what are some ways that you think that young women can kind of educate themselves and find where they want to stand on some of these issues? Well,
first I would look at some of the websites for NOW and allied organizations like the Women's March, which is happening January 18th. Read legitimate news sources. I mean, I have nothing against Wikipedia. Go back and read about how some of these things happen and what the process is to redress them.
Tell me a little bit about your guys' Women's March coming up.
Well, some members, and I know some women and men in the community will be taking buses to Washington, D.C. for the Women's/People's March, but not everybody can do that, so we want to have an event here to show that there are people here who are still concerned about these things and willing to come out and say so. I don't want everybody to think that Iowa is 100% red. It's not. And so that we think it's important to give people a chance to come together and speak up.
All right. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
James, we'll send it to you.